sticks. I'm really trivializing it a little bit, but just for the sake of simplicity, they're throwing everything at the wall, see what sticks, and then in a year from now at BlizzCon, we are going to hear about Classic Plus. You guys love Season Discovery. We learned a lot from you guys. Now it's time. It's finally here. Boom. Classic, whatever they want to name it. Right? They probably won't call it Classic Plus. Season of Plus. But that is my prediction. And remember that, a year from now. Classic divided. Are you an OG player? I am, yeah. I kind of took a break from Classic last year because I'm not a huge Wrath guy. Really wish they gave us at least one fresh. I would not be surprised to see a fresh at some point. I also wouldn't be surprised to see a TBC era. I don't know if they're going to do a Burning Crusade era, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it. With all that being said, I am very, very excited for Season Discovery. Okay, November 30th, it's going to be back. I'm going to be here, right? Classic S fan, all that stuff. Okay, we're bringing it back. WoW is back, baby. All right, WoW is back. Brett's going to crank. It's going to be great. We're going to full send it. I'm also going to be starting a guild again, okay? We're going to run it. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but we're going to run it back, okay? Crusade, we're going to run it back. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different of how I used to run Crusade. So we're probably going to call it something else. I don't know what I'm going to name it yet, but we're going to run it back, okay? Crusade is still active, by the way. 5 raid teams. I had a video where I met a bunch of them in real life. There's 5 raid teams right now. Anyway.
5.
I hope you guys are excited as I am about the future of WoW. Even retail has exciting stuff coming. But I hope you guys are excited. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button.
It was good. Yeah, it was
up.
good. Thank you so much for the excellent content from my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
The asteroid is depleted.
All right, we got the man of all hate.
Thank you, Turkey Tom, for the excellent content from the stream. I'd like to sub to your channel. This is Darkside Phil, a decade of failure.
Only BSP.
Darkside Phil is proof that you can make a living as a professional gamer, even if you're awful at gaming. But that's far from the only thing he's awful at. From constantly failing to deliver on promises made to his audience, to outright treating them like trash.
So, I've had enough excuses. It just seems to me like people are fucking lazy and don't want to come out to the streams.
All while begging them to pay his bills.
With the taxes coming up in April and everything, there's going to probably be times where I'm going to have to appeal to you guys again to try to save my butt.
If spitting on a plate you ate from was an Olympic sport,
get a job
would be a
at that
medalist,
point.
Though he would
You'd be a lot happier. If you're begging your fucking fans for money, get a real job. You'll get so much more money, so much faster, so much real money, so much faster. Trust me. The minute you're begging them, it'll cost you. It'll kill your career. Honestly, I think every day I'm like, I love this, but do I make enough money? You know, and I think about that all the time, and I'm like, oh, I do. I make enough money right now to make it worth the dream. It does, and that's enough, right? But I think about it, I'm like, ooh, I could go back to driving Uber.
Your skill has increased.
You know, and make 30 to 50 bucks an hour, and I'm good at driving Uber. I'm talking like I did it for 15 years. I'm good at it, you know. It's like second nature to me. It's the same thing as like streaming. I just get on, blah blah blah, go. Honestly, being an Uber driver was a lot like being a streamer. Because you kind of go online and you wait, and then you get a customer and you gotta go, and you gotta be very ready. You can't be slow. You're gonna, you know. And out here you can make a lot of money in the rural areas and stuff if you're willing to do like airport rides. You can make a lot of money, and if you know all the driving and everything too. And I think about that all the time. I'm like, I could be making 30 to 50 bucks an hour, and I wouldn't need to be on disability, and I wouldn't but like it never ends well. I always end up a drug addict or something like that, and it takes me away from the gaming. So I'll do this job as long as it allows me to do what I want to do anyways. Because it's like, you know, I can aspire to do other things like make 30 to 50 bucks an hour, like working and stuff. But I still can't get the gaming done that I want to do. Shit, I'm out one. Oops. And yeah, and so like as long as I can get the gaming done that I want to do in the day, which is what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't do anything differently. The same gaming that I would want to do, whether I was a streamer or not, I'd do the same game. I'd be doing the same gaming. So I realized that, like, this is the best job in the world for me. And I'll never beg you for money. Even if, like, say my family were to pass away and the bills were to fall on me, which is something that might happen. It's still not, this is not, like, this job is not this thing that where, like, I'm here to beg for anybody. I'm here for their appreciation of my personal history. That's it, you know. I like their donations, and I want their help and their support, and it goes to help my family in my private war against the government. But, I don't see how getting to super higher heights and then losing it, which is inevitable, causing you to beg. Begging is something that I always struggled with, even when I was a fucking homeless person. I really struggle with fucking begging. Like, really do. Oh, no, what's this now? Oh, yeah. Thank God I found another herb. I don't know if I should be up here, like, in this higher level area, because all the kills take forever. And the aggro tends to be Link. But I need herbs, so gonna get them, you know. Kill all the deer and pick all the herbs, and eventually I'll be done with this, and I can go to Dark Shore. Well, finish up here. I have other quests I need to do here, I guess. I suppose I should go do... Ooh, there's another herb. I mean, there is a lot of herbs here, yeah. Although this is a harpy. This is like a harpy camp. I'm not doing that. I will go do this quest of the moon thing and pick up the quest of Darnassus real quick and set my heart to Darnassus. I think, as I believe I am done with Shadowglen short of herbalism. I've even done the fishing and the cooking. I've done all of it. The fishing, cooking's at 100, fishing's at 75, and about to be uncapped. I gotta go uncap the fishing. That's gonna be expensive. And so I'm done with, like, Dalinar area pretty much, except for Sathra and Mist. No, I did Mist. Sathra and pickpocketing the guy. Or no, I think I did pickpocket the guy, actually. I think I pickpocketed the guy, but I don't know. We'll find out. I really don't know.
Problems and feed his mobile game addiction. This is the 2-decade spanning story of the self-proclaimed King of Hate, Darkside Phil. Born on April 6, 1982, Philip Paul Burnell grew up on the outskirts of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Quite opposite to his life after becoming an online personality, very little of his early years have been documented. One of the very few stories that has stood the test of time is that of a young Phil going to a comic book store with his parents and asking them for a rare $25 Wolverine toy for his birthday, claiming that he never asked them for stuff, which, given the behavior pattern we later come to know as Phil's MO, it's very unlikely this is the case. When they take too long to buy it and the store runs out of stock for that particular toy, he berates them, and seeing how amped he still gets when retelling the story, it seems he still resents them for this.
So my birthday came and passed, and guess what? My parents go, "We're very sorry, Philip, but we couldn't find the action figure." I said, "I told you to buy the figure. Why don't you listen to me?"
If we can take his word for it, he graduated from Catholic school, St. Ambrose, in 2000.
Why is this guy
valedictorian
famous?
of his class before going on to study business at Fairfield University.
Like, why is this guy famous? I don't really get it. I get it, but I don't.
But before studying business, DSP was already getting busy in the competitive fighting game scene, with a particular interest in Capcom's Street Fighter series.
Oh, I mean, I guess, yeah, if you're, like, a fighting game guy, I suppose that's good enough for me.
He actually traveled across the United States to attend tournaments. Mind you, this is at a time when gaming was still seen as somewhat of a loser thing to be engaged in, so to be dedicated to it as much as he was pretty rare. However, this dedication didn't manifest in exclusively positive ways. Phil often lost his temper and was a generally toxic player, which turned many of the other attendees of the tournaments he participated in against him.
Now, when I go to these tournaments, I say, "Hey, guess what? Such and such, I've known you for 10 years. Get the fuck off this station because I want to play the game." And usually, when you threaten them like that, they get the fuck up because none of them want to fight.
And someone want to step outside and get their ass beat.
What's worse is that for many
Five
years, despite his
silver.
dedication to the point of toxicity, he consistently lost every single tournament he was in.
For a while, that was true. I was one of the biggest shit talkers in the Street Fighter community. And I would go to tournaments and I would lose. And that's embarrassing.
As he tells the
It
story,
is.
when he finally turned this around and started winning,
I have never entered a tournament in my life because I assume that there's somebody there who has a singular focus who's better than me. Now, I might be better than everybody there just by rote. That's happened before. But I don't think that usually there's never been a game in my life that I mained to the point where I thought I could do it, that I could win it in a tourney, because I play so many games all the time. Even when I was a kid. Okay, you might think that this 3 games at once thing is like new, or like that I'm inventing something, but no. Like, okay, when I was a kid, I always had like 16 or so games. I didn't have a lot more than that. I always kept about between like 15 games. There was always like the one good game, and then there was like 5 bad ones, and then like the other 10 that I could stand. And I kept this my entire life, and I would cycle the games out. I'd do an hour on this, an hour and a half on that, sit on Secret of Mana for 5 hours, go play this game. I've always and work on saves. I worked on saves in the Super Nintendo era a lot. I would always work on saves for Secret of Mana. When PlayStation hit, we had Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, 9. I was always working. Okay, I must have beat 9 like 15 times or something, and that takes time. And you can't play 9 only you can't just play 9. You know, they sell a remake of Final Fantasy 9 that might be pretty fucking fun to play in the modern age in this three game format. I could drop EVE Online for a couple of days and do Final Fantasy 9. Because the auto battle actually kind of appeals to me, but I would need a macro for it or something like that where it would play itself.
it was to the general chagrin of everyone involved, which earned him the title of the King of Hate.
Maybe I should just beat Dragon Age 12. Not Dragon Age. What is it called? Dragon something. The other SquareSoft game. It's what is it? Dragon Quest. I think Dragon Quest 12 has an auto battle, which is kind of cool. And I wonder if that might be a really good game because of it. I know it's a good game. I just don't know. I don't know if I can play it. That's the problem. Don't know if I can play it.
Because everyone hated him. The competitive fighting game community by 2005 had largely made the transition from the use of arcade cabinets to console ports. EVO 2005, however, proved to be a bump in the middle of that transition. A PlayStation port of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo was particularly divisive in
Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is the best fighting game ever made. Yeah, that's my game. Yeah, that's my game. I love that game. I kick ass at this game. I know it perfectly.
Fighting game community with various bugs.
Every fucking combo, every character. I can pick it up right now and slaughter you. Yep.
Technical details that would mar a
Super Street Fighter 2 Hyper, or no, Street Fighter 3 was actually super fucking good. People don't believe it, but it is. Street Fighter 3 is when we first got Cammy and all that. Street Fighter 3 was super fucking good, actually.
Port fell so
Super
far.
Street Fighter 3 Turbo, or whatever, Hyper. Super Street Fighter 3 Hyper or something, I think, was so fucking super good.
Short of minimum expectations due to the
Played that game a lot. Mortal Kombat 4, Mortal Kombat Gold, they're the same game. Mortal Kombat Gold on the Dreamcast was a game that sucked me in so bad. That game's so fucking good. But my favorite, I think, my favorite of all those, I think, is like DOA 2. I think DOA 2 was my favorite out of almost all of them. DOA 2 had an art form to it that some of them did have. Like Soul Calibur had it. But it was very artistic and beautiful, and it had cool stages, and it was interesting. It was a hard game to master. It had such good stuff, but hard game to master. It was very combo-y, and you could run like 65-hit combos and stuff, and it was very fluid.
Or that, as a result, various high-level players would end up boycotting the event in protest to its use. While they went high, however, Phil went low.
Yeah, sometimes You could never get me to do like a fighting game tournament because I know what's going to happen. They just send projectiles at you whenever they're not actively hitting
Your
you.
skill has increased.
They'll actively hit you with their sweep combo and knock you in the air and then start the juggle or whatever. But what they're really trying to do is when they're not doing that, they're throwing fireballs at you constantly. And that element of fighting games is so infantile that I couldn't handle it. There would be no way I could ever do it professionally or anything like that. No. Because that's all it is. It's like either you're jumping over fireballs.
Your skill has increased.
My best friend was a competitive, like not competitive, but he was a very competitive person when it came to fighting games. He's not a competitive player, like professionally or anything. He was just a very competitive person in fighting games. And oh my god, I've got to get Carolina off. I don't know if I can afford it. Nope, can't afford it. It's like 12. Shit. Well, it wears off in 30 seconds, and this shouldn't be that bad after that. Hopefully. He might win in one hit from death, maybe. We'll see. He seems to be missing me a lot. The Clipper is super paralyzed, too, which is annoying. Yeah, this crippling paralysis, man, that sucks. So now I'm here trying to sell all this stuff. Now, rather than 2... I think I want 4. Yeah, or it's worthless otherwise. Yeah.
Your skill has increased.
No, I want 4. Yeah. How are we doing? Are we winning? No. Oh, wait, maybe we are. Come on, hit him. Yep. Oh, yeah, I got him 1 hit from the end. That 1 hit from the end thing where I come back a second too late and almost miss it. See it? Oh, well. No. No, I don't want to sell those. It's... Yeah, those I do want to sell, though. Yeah. Ooh, they're worth a lot, too. Earthroot. Ooh, Earthroot sells. Nice, yeah. Okay, 14 Peace Bloom. Shit. Maybe I'll just sell herbs. I don't care, frankly. Yeah, sell it all, though. I don't frankly care. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, good. We lived. Yay for living. I will live this so hard.
On his credit score, to be more specific, in perhaps the earliest manifestation of his ability to handle his finances in anything resembling a mature way, a 23-year-old Phil was living in a 3-bedroom apartment he knew he was going to move out of within half a year. In the meantime, he had no idea how he was going to pay his bills, let alone find and pay for another place to live in. With his only job prospect being an entry-level position at a Best Buy, Phil applied his business diploma to the best of his abilities. Instead of buckling up and being frugal, hoping to scrape by until his conditions improved, he decided to take
Okay, I've done so many jobs. Let's list some jobs that I've done, right? I've been a cashier for 10 years. I did wiring for DPS schools through a friend of mine, a contractual wirer. Cool, we filled up. This is way less work to monitor. It's awesome.
Drive active.
And so... what was I going to say? Oh yeah, jobs, right? So I worked at, let's see, my resume, right? I worked at Whole Foods for 2 years, but it was called Wild Oats when I was there. Now it's a Whole Foods. And I worked in the deli. I was a delicatessen person, and I also did salad prep, and I was a dishwasher. I was a dishwasher after that for 4 years. After that, I was a cashier at gas station. I'm sorry, after that, I did Einstein Bagels food prep. I'm sorry, the first thing I ever did was Einstein Bagels food prep before all that stuff. Then I worked at Wild Oats. Then I worked at, those years. I worked at the deli, and I worked at a bagel store as in the bakery, and then I got to dishwashing at the bagel place and became a dishwasher at the place that eventually became Whole Foods. And then I worked at GameStop for 2 years. After I worked at GameStop for 2 years, I took cashier positions at like 7 different gas stations over 10 years, including places like Illinois. And then after that, I drove for a subsidiary of Grubhub called Food to You for 5 years. And I then I lost my job after that due to my car breaking down, and they gave me unemployment. But then while I was on unemployment, I did construction. Oh, I also worked as a painter when I was 17. All summer, I worked as a painter once. Then what else? I was a lead singer in a band, if you could call that a job. I did make some money from it and some bonuses. For 8 years. And then what else? When I was like 30, I worked construction. I did flagging in my 30s, and then I was a drug dealer for like close to 3.5 years. I was a homeless person. There was some gray area, dark side stuff I did with a friend of mine that I won't talk about, but that didn't harm anybody that I met anyways. And I did laptop repair on Craigslist for a couple of years when I wasn't dealing drugs and stuff. And then I was on unemployment again for 2 years. Like 15 years later, I was on unemployment again for 2 years during pandemic on assistance relief, like PUA. And they gave me quite a bit of money that I saved up. And then during that, I was doing a disability appeal after I fractured my clavicle. But and then I've made other odd job things, like I sold 2 MMO accounts for a total of $3,300, I think it was. And I have done lots of odd jobs for people. And one of the things I used to do for money is and drugs too, is I used to make connections for drug dealers. Like I would bring people to my drug dealer. And that was something I would call like almost basically a side job all my life, almost until I was like 36 and 38 when I got out of it. And I would call that a job because it was full time. It was like full time. You would go find people that you knew through your social circles and bring them to your drug dealer if they were looking for drugs and stuff like that. And it was kind of like a full time job. And I would get free drugs that way, and money and clout and stuff and friendships. But eventually that's how I built like a magic phone. But if you don't know what a magic phone is, that's like the drug dealer's phone that everybody calls. But I already had a magic phone just from my social life when I first became a drug dealer. I worked in a hotel in Lahaina, Hawaii, not that long ago when I was like 28 or something like that. Forgot about that one. What else? Let me think about that. Yeah, that's everything. So I hear about this guy talk about having no resume. And I'm like, dude, my resume is like 10 pages long, and it pisses me off. It's always pissed me off. I've got a long resume. I've done so much work in my life. People thought I was this fat, lazy piece of shit sitting there playing games all day. No, I did that a lot throughout my life too, but I always had a job when I was doing it. Almost always. Definitely at least a crappy cashier job on the weekends at the very least, you know?
Cash advances on every
There was
single
times
one
when my friends would help me with rent, and I got by when I was homeless and a drug addict and stuff and drunk and all that stuff. But like, there will be this time when I go back and pay that money back though. If I ever make any money, like for instance, when my parents pass away, there will be some money coming in from just selling the stuff that they accrued their whole life. And I will take that and I will go pay off my debts to my friends and my family and stuff, if nothing else, because like, no matter what, I'll go back and I'll end up paying that, though. That was not a free ride. I'm going to have to go back and pay my best friend $11,900. And I think about it every single fucking day of my life. In the background, there's this just digging thought in my brain that just digs deeper all the time. You haven't paid the 11 grand. You haven't paid the 11 grand to the one person that you really respect and really love, that lets you money and stuff besides your aunt. I owe my aunt $3,600. I'll pay that too. And no matter what, even if it's like my family's money, I'll end up going and paying that back though, because it's like, I owe another friend $600 and then I'm done, right? So I owe something like 15 grand to people that I actually know. When I pay that off, there were either like I mean the time that I was homeless and dealing with being a drug addict and all this stuff and being a WoW addict and a WoW raider, like world-class raider, I lived off other people that time, but I mean like those people like had me tally it up, and I owe those people. I still owe them. So when I pay them off finally in the end in a few years, it'll be like, oh yeah, I got him, nice. Kill the bird. He's annoying. That the fucking wings flapping is so annoying. There. Yeah. And so I hear this like Darkside Phil had no resume, and I think that must be nice. It must be nice. It must have been nice to sit there. These people are like 10 years younger than me, I think. It must have been fucking nice to sit there on the internet your whole fucking life and have no resume at all. Because that scandalizes me. When I do my resume, it's like 57 bullet points. And I don't like it. I don't like how much of a work history I have, honestly. It's too long and it's too annoyed and it's too varied and it's too detailed. And getting all the details together and getting all the references together is just a pain in the ass process that I've never enjoyed, you know? But I did work my whole fucking life. Hearing them talk about, oh, I have no resume. I do not relate. I cannot relate to that. I never was allowed that. At no point. Past the age of 16, I had already worked like 4 different jobs. Like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I was not raised like that. I'm from the lower class. I mean, I'm not. Well, growing up, I was rich until I was like 11. But then we were in the lower class for the rest of my life, for the next 30 years past that. And like, you know, and I would say I spent 30 years of my life as lower class, and I've never been permitted to not work or have some kind of assistance or some kind of help from somebody, or racking debt with a credit card company, or racking debt with friends or something like that, or receiving student loans. I always had assistance. And so in the total debt in the world that I owe is like well, I owe the system. They're eventually going to forgive, or no, they forgave that. So no, I don't owe the system anymore. I owe like $16,000 and I'm done with the world. You know, I owe like $16,000. That's it. So like I think about that and I'm like, man, why are you famous? If you didn't work jobs, if you didn't live your life, if you weren't something like a lead singer, or you weren't like, you weren't like a Mickey Mouse kid or something, I don't really get it. Why are you famous then? I always thought fame was this thing that for me, I figured I might get famous by accident, but I did not set out to do this to get famous. I set out to do a personal history and prove to the world that like by the end that I had like a catalog of videos and stuff that would prove that what I did for my entire fucking life. And I don't care if anybody watches it, frankly. I just I just wanted to prove to the world that I did something with my fucking life, because that was the accusation most of my life, is that I just sort of surfed the middle class and worked dead-end jobs my whole life and partied and did nothing. That's what my mom used to say. And I'd be like, nah, motherfucker, you just don't sit down next to me and watch me do what I do for 12 or 14 hours a fucking day. You couldn't stand it. They can't stand the button presses and the clicking and the typing and the frantic stuff and the talking and all the Discord shit and all that, and talking all day long, doing strategies and raiding and all that. She could never stand it. We could never live with each other, not very long. I didn't live with my parents my whole life because they couldn't fucking stand me, because I was in the back raiding 50 to 80 hours a day or a week. If I wasn't working, I would be working a 40-hour-a-week job if I had to. I would get home and I would do whatever I had to. It would be energy drinks or speed or girls or whatever the fuck would keep me going. And I would just keep going. I would grind 40-hour-a-week jobs. And when I got home, I would do 5 solid hours of fucking MMOs and then pass out exhausted or more than that. It would be like 8. I worked doubles my whole life. I would do 8 hours of work. And I literally would tell my bosses this. I would roll my eyes my whole life. They didn't understand it, and nobody would ever understand it. And I'd say, I got to go to work now. It was an old joke. I've said it my whole life. I got to go to work now. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to go play video games for 8 hours and I'm going to grind the entire 8 hours. and I'm gonna finish up after a 16-hour session, and I'm gonna be exhausted, and I'm gonna eat, and I'm gonna watch TV for 2 hours, and I'm gonna sleep for 5 hours. And I would tell my bosses this; they would hate it, but I would be honest about it. And I'm gonna come back to work again for 8 hours. I'm gonna prop myself up with methamphetamine, girls, video games, drugs, cigarettes, whatever the fuck, soda, whatever the fuck, any stimulant I could get my hands on, any drugs I could get, like prop myself up, and I work doubles. I still work doubles. I work doubles at least 12 hours every day. 12, 16 hours every fucking day, pretty much. I worked 14 hours first year and a half of being a streamer, and I still do. So it's like, I'm lucky when I have days off, and days off to me are lying in bed and not putting the camera on. So... yeah, so like, but still being on stream and still playing for 14 hours. So and people don't sit there next to you and watch you play MMORPGs. It's a very solitary fucking thing. I would say it's like trimming bonsais. Nobody wants to sit there and watch you trim a bonsai or build a bottle in a ship or like say meditate. Nobody really, I mean, maybe they want to sit across from you and meditate with you, but they don't want to watch you meditate. They don't want to watch you do something that's so solitarily singular as MMOs. I mean, it's a very social thing when you're in a party and you're talking to people, but it's a very solid social, like singular thing when you're playing MMOs. So people didn't come see what I was doing all the time. They just assumed that I was sitting around scratching my ass, jacking off, masturbating, and doing nothing all day. This was the assumption the whole day. And I would tell them, come on down and watch me work, and nobody ever did want to. They still don't want to, and I don't care. I'm not offended by this. I don't need them to do it. I just made the offer is what I'm trying to say. I made the offer. If you want to come down and see what I actually do, you could. And I used to say this when I was like 17. I'm 40 now. When I was 17, I would tell them, come on down and watch me play Phantasy Star Online for 16 hours, which is why you can't have a phone call for 16 hours, because I'm on the 56K modem for 16 hours. You know, I broke my arm. I'm not going to school or whatever. And so I'm playing, fucking Phantasy Star Online or Diablo 2 for 16 fucking hours. And they'd be like, yeah, right, you're just jacking off in there doing nothing. You can't sit around and do nothing with your life, your entire life, you fucking bum and all this. And I'm like, nah, come on down. See what I do. Come on down. I have a stream doing it now. Watch it. Like, come on down. Watch what I do. Tell me I do nothing all day. Honestly, does it look like I'm doing nothing right now? I'm on the chair. It does, but honestly, I'm freaked out running from a tiger while I entertain like a party list of like 7 people, and like on 2 different platforms while I'm recording a fucking video. Now it all looks like nothing to the outsider, but it doesn't change the fact that it isn't. It's just never been. Beating Secret of Mana 50 times is not doing nothing. That's what I did during my parents' divorce. I beat Secret of Mana like 50 times. I got all the orbs and all the weapons to level 9 and stuff 50 times or something. I just kept playing Secret of Mana, waiting for it to end. It was the real world that I lived in, and I kept waiting for a social online world that would allow me to just escape entirely, and then it did when I hit like the Phantasy Star Online. And then from there it just got worse to like Final Fantasy 11 and then World of Warcraft. And so like this whole attitude of all my life, that thing he talked about in the video, like what's this streamer's name, or what's this content provider's name? It's Turkey Tom, right? So Turkey Tom made this point that I love that he made. I do like Turkey Tom, despite I don't think we have the same views at all. I do like Turkey Tom because he does say funny things. Like he mentions that back then, being a gamer was kind of like being a scumbag. Everybody hated you because you were apparently doing nothing in your room by yourself, dark. You're jacking off, playing video games and doing nothing. That was the assumption. But that was not what my friends were like. I knew that none of them were sitting around doing nothing. None of my friends on the MMORPGs were sitting around jacking off all day. None of them. None of them. They were all pushing 12, 16-hour days. They were all in raids. They were all doing things. They were always pulling in loot. None of them were sitting around doing nothing. They weren't taking 45-minute breaks to go jack off or any of that shit. It wasn't like that. They weren't lazy. They weren't lazy like the kids are today. They don't go watch TikTok when they're bored or anything. Like these people, they were like solid talking like me right now all day long, 16 hours a day. And that's how the raid was. That's how the Discord, well, not back then it was Ventrio. And so, like, you know, and so this thing about now it seems a lot more acceptable to be who I am, but I don't think it's changed their deep down opinion that you don't add to anything to society. You just take, you spend money, you eat up power bills, you sit on a computer, and you don't really you know, contribute anything to the world. And I have spent my entire life resisting that impression. But honestly, that is the sussed out truth of it. It's the sussed out truth. It's like, once you suss it out, it is the truth of it. It doesn't contribute to anything. So I dislike that element to my job, but I love my job so much that I'm not going to stop doing it, whether the stream's there, whether my family's there, whether my friends are there, whether I have money or not. It doesn't fucking matter. I'll figure out something to do. You know, I will go back to doing nasty things. It doesn't matter what it is. I will go back to maintain this lifestyle. It's that important to me. And it's a jokey thing that means nothing to anybody, really, except for the people in the scene. So, you know, and I love that he mentioned back then you were kind of a scumbag if you were a gamer. You didn't have any social credit. Nobody liked you, that you were doing what you were doing. Nobody thought it was cool. Nobody cared when you went off about Secret of Mana and how cool it was in a fucking conversation about beer or something that kids actually did care about. Like, you know, and they'd be like, nerd, shut up, nerd. All my life I would get, shut up, nerd. You know, all my life I got that. And now it's like you know, I'm the one who's cool.
Of his credit cards, which ended up being about $3,000, so that he could travel to and attend EVE.
Oh my God, EVO? Are you fucking serious? Do not go to EVO.
Was it worth it? Well, he placed third, not second, not first, but fourth in the tournament.
Fourth, yep. Hey, fourth in a tournament is something to actually say. It's something to say. It's something to give the nod to. Congratulations on fourth in a tournament. You're obviously pretty good at fucking Street Fighter. Like, is it that hard to give the guy validation? No. And that's my issue. That's what I'm talking about right now on this fucking whole spiel that I'm doing right here. Like fucking, you know, do we not need to give validation? No, we do. We need to validate the people no matter what they're doing. Even if it's fucking prostitution and drug dealing, we still need to kind of validate that they're people and that they're doing people things. And like even prostitutes and drug dealers are still people. Like, I know that you think that a lot of people think that they aren't. They are. They're still people. They're doing people things. And so this disenfranchisement, this oh, you were kind of a scumbag if you were a gamer back then. We haven't totally lost that. Not for a lot of things. There are many sex workers on this planet. There are many drug dealers on this planet. There are many MMO addicts on this planet. And we're all gonna do what we do. I mean, you know, we're all gonna, you know, there's many dentists on the planet, you know. Lord save me from all the dentists on the planet. They're gonna keep looking at teeth, whether we pay them or not, you know.
Tournament. However, since the top 3 players were all Japanese, Phil rearranged this win to mean he was the best American player, exclusively because it has
people are gonna play chess whether they pay them to or not. If you go down to New York in like fucking Soho, you go to in between the fucking streets, like, you know, 16th Street or whatever the fuck. I don't know New York. You know. And you walk down the street and you're gonna see guys playing chess all of their lives. All of their lives. Those guys have more social esteem than I get. I mean, not now. I mean, being a streamer, you'll get more social esteem now. But I mean, like, most of their lives, those guys were higher on the social... Guys who sit in the park and play chess all day, they were definitely higher on the social rung than gamers. They were. At least they went outside, and it didn't really cost much money except to eat, you know? Gaming costs a lot of money.
Players based on their nationality. This gets even sillier.
Gaming costs TVs, gaming costs monitors, gaming costs games, gaming costs peripherals, and fucking microphones, and headphones, and cords, and woofers, and, you know, fucking projection screens, and fucking monthlies, and, you know what doesn't cost money? Chess, you know. So the chess player got a lot more respect his whole life. Bobby Fischer got a lot more fucking... They make movies about Bobby Fischer. They'll never make a movie about an MMO addict unless it's about, like, to point fun at us or whatever. So this whole thing, it's an interesting thing to look at the respect levels.
Like this tournament somehow represented the entire country.
Yeah, like that tournament does not represent, and a tournament never represents the entire world. It just never factually does. There's no such thing as best in the world. It's a factual like thing. There's no such thing as best in the world. You might be at a tournament to declare the Olympics or whatever, but trust me, there's gonna be a better long distance runner somewhere in the world than Usain Bolt, who just doesn't fucking care to compete. Trust me. They just don't care to do it. They don't want to be famous. They don't want to, like, there's always someone better than you. There's always somebody better than Billy fucking Mitchell at Donkey Kong. There's always someone better than you. You might be top glad. You might be S-fan, top ret in the world. No, there's a ret somewhere that's better than S-fan. And this is why I won't enter attorneys. They mean nothing.
Instantly falls on its face when you take into account the fact that many American
I'm a very
players
causality guy. Like, if I'm going to
issues.
enter attorney, there has to be somebody asking me to do that. Otherwise, no, because there's obviously someone else better in the world at whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be something really oblique. It doesn't matter. There's somebody in the world who's better than you at whatever you think you're best in the world at. It's just a misnomer. The whole statement, best in the world, is a misnomer. So you can get close, like I did, but you can't be the best in the world. Like, for instance, I was the most geared, highest numbered priest on World of Logs for a brief, like, 3-day period in December of 2010 for World of Warcraft. That makes me, at one point, the best priest in the world. And this is something that I told people for 10 years. I'm going to stop telling people this. I'm going to tell them the story because it's true. But I'm going to stop saying it like I was at one point the best priest in the world, because I knew priests who were better than me. I just knew them. I knew in my own social circles who were better. I knew priests that were better than me in my own guild. I just happened to pull the better numbers that day. So this thing about being the best in the world and having that fucking snobbiness or whatever the fuck of like, being Kobe, being the top point guard of all time. No, there's someone in the world who's better than Kobe. There really is. There's someone in the world. There's someone in the world who's better than Kobe. There is.
The community picked up on DSP, and they didn't take his comments about this event very
So
kindly.
this is why I say getting 4th place in a tournament is actually not that bad. It's okay.
The answer I was looking for. You got some idiot named DSP who's a total piece of shit, by the way.
Yup.
I like to get that on YouTube.
Yup.
But this guy thought he was hot because he beat me and Choi in a game that was like, it's like
10 years
Neo
old.
Geo conversion of Street Fighter.
Yep, Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter, yep.
This may seem like a minor issue,
But we love
it's
those
less about the
games.
tournament
I
itself,
like the
more-
Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter. It's super fucking good. It's super fucking good. It's so smooth. You just it pulls you in under a second. You're like, okay, let's do this. It doesn't matter what you do. You're like having fun. Like, dude, those games are good.
More about how Phil himself behaved afterwards. In later videos, he belittles the other players' issues with the port, saying that they shouldn't have expected arcade-like gameplay from a console, and instead...
Why? What? Why can an arcade cabinet is a console, you fucking idiot? What are you talking? A console is far superior to an arcade cabinet. What are you talking about, you idiot? You can tell why they trolled him. Why they're calling a piece of shit idiot to his face. His points are not true.
Which is what it seems all the OGs were doing. We'll just play the game.
Consoles are absolutely fine. I see no reason in the world why your neighbor down the street's like Switch can't run a perfectly valid world-class tournament for Smash Brothers. What's wrong with consoles, you asshole? There's nothing wrong with it. I have issues with arcade cabinets, evidenced by Billy Mitchell. But I don't have evidence of any problem with console fucking gaming or console fighting games. So this thing that you're saying is so stupid that no fighting game player I think would ever agree with you either. The peripherals on the console might suck compared to the arcade. That's true.
And learn the differences so we know for the tournament.
Being a sore loser...
But I bet you're playing on a gamepad. I doubt you're playing on a stick. Are you playing on a stick?
But
Do you guys play on sticks? Are you playing with your sticks all day? I hope you're not playing on a stick. Sticks are so fucking bad. Please tell me you're not playing Street Fighter on a stick. Please. I know that you guys think it's cool or whatever, but I don't. I'm sorry, I'll die on that hill. Oh, really? Okay, get on the dog. Oh god, you're not letting me have control. I need you to let me have control here. Yep, get on the dog.
Your skill has increased.
My dog's dead. Or whatever. Yeah, get on the oh god. Yeah, get on the dude. Get on him. Kill the brawler. Kill the brawler. Kill the brawler. Oh my god, kill the brawler. It stole my TP. Something stole my TP, I don't know what. Good, I lived. Now, I can't charm the dog, but I don't want the sapling, but it would be good to get him on the dog because I have not touched the dog. No, now I have. Stop. God damn it. Get on the dog. I'm gonna eat these hits until the sapling can get the dog off me. Yeah, I haven't done any active damage. I have. Come on, man. Hit the dog. Hit the dog. Hit the dog. Come on, hit the dog. Hit the dog. Hit the dog. Hit the dog. Keep hitting the dog. Hit the dog. Oh my god. You rock ass me, you asshole. Now he's... Oh my god. No, oh, that's all I need. Wait. Yep. There you go. Fight him. That's all I need. Alright, you and the sapling fight. All I need is a replacement. So, the dog's no good, but... Damn, Doogs. I don't see anything else super valid, but the dog's back on me. Maybe the sapling will actually kill the dog if he just keeps chasing me around, I guess. I don't know. Don't miss the dog, just hit him. Yep, hit this dog. Hit him. God damn it. Yeah, hit the dog. So stupid. Look. Okay, I don't know. I don't think I see a way out, but... Oh, the ball will do. The ball will do. If he kills this sapling, I'll live with the ball. But getting him on the... Well, I don't know. I'm going to do better with the ball than I am the sapling, though. So, that's what I want. Yeah, look, he's killing the sapling quick, but the sapling did do some damage. Steal the ball. Don't aggro the dog. Good. Get the ball on the dog. We're just going to make our stand here and die one hit from the kill. I'm gonna get one hit from the kill here. Oh, wait. If he'll stay on the bird, let him have the bird. Yeah, if he doesn't like the bird... Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he's hurting the bird. There we go. Okay, sit down. How's this going? Good.
Not content with just that, Phil managed to also be a sore winner, because even after he started winning tournaments here and there, he continued to make everyone around him dislike him by behaving like a buffoon for no reason.
Of course.
While there is a video of Phil doing things like loudly and obnoxiously talking over people he was playing with, it seems he was self-conscious enough to keep the more egregious displays of his lack of self-control and respect for others to behind the scenes. In one instance, in 2002, he pushed the limits so much that, while he was leaving the place he was playing at, him and his friends were followed by the friend group of someone he'd recently lost to, who proceeded to compel him to pay a nominal amount of money for being a general nuisance. According to Justin Wong, another avid Street Fighter player whom DSP had beat before, he had the tendency of being nice to him in person and saying terrible things about him when he wasn't around. However, the most detailed account of why exactly DSP had such a terrible reputation in the community came from another fellow Street Fighter player, Viscant. His Reddit post reads as follows. This would have been either EVO 2005 or EVO 2006. Phil had been talking trash for weeks/months before I finally got sick of it. I'm pretty sure I challenged him to a money match and knew he wasn't going to accept and was going to be like, lol, fight me IRL at EVO, and I accepted. From here, it turns into what sounds like a total farce, except I can assure you that it was 100% serious, which makes us both look like total, complete idiots. So first, Phil was like, okay, well you have to sign some document because if I kill you, I don't want to be responsible. And I was like, whatever. Then there was an actual serious negotiation over who the ref was going to be, but I don't remember this part either. Then there was an honest-to-God negotiation over weights that we were going to have to weigh in and everything. Again, I'm not making any of this up. As good as this sounds, this absolutely happened. Finally, it was agreed that he wouldn't have to go on a diet to fight me, and it was settled that we were going to fight. It was going to have MMA rules. It would have a referee, and we'd sign waivers. I was dumb in the mid-2000s. Anyway, so we agreed upon this early in the year, and from here on is where the story gets weird. So apparently Phil was under the impression that this wasn't going to happen and that this was just internet shit talk, but a few people from the West Coast went out to one of the East Coast tournaments and told him that I was taking this seriously and was going to fight him, and had probably been in more gym fights in the past 2 months months than he'd been in his life. So one day, Phil instant messages me on AIM and tries to back out. He was like, hey, so how about this? How about we pretend like we're going to fight, and then when a whole crowd is around us, we both do DX cross chops to the crowd. It'll be such a goof. This really happened. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? I honestly couldn't believe he was pulling this, and I was still mad about the whole thing and actually wanted to fight him. I told him I wasn't going to do any of that trolling, but if you want to drop it, then fine, I'll drop it. We can both be adults about this. And that's pretty much what happened. I'm not going to jump him from behind in the parking lot or get in his face and threaten him. From that point on, there never really was any problem between him and I. In fact, the next year when EVE West was in San Diego, I let him stay at my place that year. And when Mike Watson and Jaha were about to kill him in a parking garage, I stepped between them and defused that situation. He later would go on to have more serious problems with Watson and Jaha, but I made sure it wasn't going to happen when he was staying with me. I generally don't hold grudges, so even though I remember being really pissed off at the time, by the time the parking garage thing happened a year later, I was over it. The parking garage situation Viskin is referring to is the aforementioned shakedown. But enemies weren't the only thing Phil made in his time as a competitive Street Fighter player. He also made some friends, however unlikely that may seem, and they went on to collaborate with him in the future. One such acquaintance was Mr. John Rambo, who sought Phil out after his victory in EVO because he wanted to get better at Super Street Fighter Turbo. He'll come up again later, so keep that guy in your mind. Despite his infamy in localized gaming communities IRL, Phil found a way to circumvent this by tapping into the realm of online gaming. Even if word got around about his excesses at the competitions, it wouldn't be enough to prevent him from making a name for himself based exclusively on what he chose to put up online. He created a YouTube channel in 2007 where he uploaded random vlogs related to his interest in competitive gaming. But in 2008, he slowly transitioned the channel into a rudimentary proto-Let's Play channel. Though instead of having the screen captured directly while he played it, he recorded it with a separate device, meaning he pointed the camera at the TV basically. At the time, Phil lived with his parents and saw content creation as a pastime rather than a job. Not that content creation was much of a job option in the Jurassic period, which was YouTube prior to the 2010s, but even still, he was somewhat realistic about his expectations. Still, that didn't stop Phil from taking inspiration from one of the early internet's most adored legends, Angry Video Game Nerd.
Now, as I was a Street Fighter player, I used to travel with a group of friends, and it was actually in a hotel room at a Street Fighter tournament where we were just hanging out and having fun, and one of my friends said, did you ever see this guy called the Angry Video Game Nerd? I was like, no, I don't know who that is. And, you know, and they showed me a video of this guy who looked like very much dressed up like a nerd, right? He had a button-down white kind of shirt, thick glasses, right? Even talked kind of a little bit high-pitched or whatever. And here he is, ranting at a video game, making funny lines, talking over the top, swearing like a sailor. Hilarious. No production values, no budget to it, just him and a camera making fun of a video game.
Though I get what he's saying, there is a kind of purity and earnestness to early YouTube Kino, and I use that word loosely because I'm pretty sure AVGN was on another site before he was on YouTube, but I digress. I think Phil took the no production value part a little too seriously. He took pride in posting playthroughs in bulk, with several hours of video dedicated to each game with absolutely no editing involved. On this decrepit, old, and abandoned channel, there are over 7,000 videos, because back then, you couldn't upload very long videos, compelling Phil to split them up into dozens, if not hundreds of individual 10-minute clips. Again, I should remind you, we're not talking about Bandicam or unregistered Hypercam here. We're talking about actual camera footage with built-in microphone audio capturing all of it, completely raw, untreated, unedited whatsoever.
No, I guess I
Unsurprisingly, the
can't.
channel didn't exactly blow up overnight. Somewhat surprisingly, Phil is proud that he spent 3 years of his life doing this for no money and actively derided other content creators who only started doing gaming videos after they began being monetized on the platform. Mind you, this man is 28 years old and living with his parents, and somehow he thinks it's a merit that he makes no money out of playing video games alone with no one watching. On top of that, he brags about the platform effort he put into the videos and his larger upload volume compared to the other, much more successful creators, when in reality,
That was actually genuinely funny.
Precisely because of how popular they are. It's a perfect example of quantity over quality. Once again, it's not what DSP is doing that's the issue, it's that he brags about it in a really great
Yeah, see, like, you're never gonna see me brag. I think a lot of these people are guilty of pride. I'm not gonna brag. I'm gonna say I have the accolades. That's it. I have the accolades. I have the trophies. I have the achievements. I mean, that's it. That's about as far as I'll go.
Well,
I have the accolades. That's it. You know, trophies, and they don't make no award for that. Trophies. Trophies. You know nobody's talking about PlayStation. They don't have no award for that.
Documented online. It wasn't
Oh,
a
no.
result of him disrespecting
Am I dying?
other
Oh,
YouTubers
God.
for trying to make money off
no.
their content.
No, I'm not.
Instead, it was during a recording of his playthrough of Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions when he was making too much of a racket, and his neighbor decided to interject.
Yes. Shut up over
Being the
there.
good Samaritan he is, Phil took his neighbor's advice. As it turns out, however, his neighbor wasn't the only person getting annoyed at Phil. The running joke surrounding DSP's online presence actually had a running start, as they were already going on before he had enough detractors, and people in general, seeing his content in order to pick up on it. Though if you are to go back and look at these older uploads, you can catch them in the wild. For example, Phil claimed he suffered from a chronic nasal drip, and because of this, he also chronically snorted loudly into the microphone. Later on, in part due to his tendency to ask for money, this take of Phil's got him compared to pigs many, many times. Another focal point for his haters was his loudness, which his neighbor can corroborate, but specifically his laugh, lovingly dubbed the seal laugh due to its ASMR tier, exquisite sound design. But let's be fair here, regardless of how entertaining or entertaining these may be, they're most likely done unconsciously by Phil. This is just how he is. He had no choice. However, what he has
we all have
chosen
our
is to be the real-life
colloquialisms.
incarnation of a character from South Park, as he made a series of videos dedicated exclusively to cataloging his funniest racist remarks while gaming. Many people's careers get decimated when they have one racist remark revealed to their audience, but Phil is such an absolute based unit that he himself compiles and posts his own expose material. Around the same time, he started putting more effort into uploading to his YouTube channel. He was also hired into a job as a customer service phone operator for a company called Aftermarket Support for Helicopters. Sometimes he refers to it as HSI, which means Helicopter Support Incorporated. According to Phil's retelling, he constantly worked extra hours and was paid less than other people who did the same job as him, despite the company's actual vice president telling them he was better than his customer service position and that he was to undergo extensive training for a promotion.
This fucking clown.
I
thought I was bad. I don't think I'm
bad
bad compared to some of these people, actually.
while remaining a customer service employee, which he described as equivalent to working two jobs simultaneously. After 2 years of this, he was temporarily taken out of his customer service position and placed into that managerial position. And if his word is to be trusted, he revamped the entire company and started saving them a lot of money. And his work was so excellent that they gave him an award. The only problem was his work was so excellent, in fact, they no longer had any use for him. And within 2 months of giving him this award, they laid him off. Does this sound fishy to you at all? Because it sounds like the Pacific Ocean to me, and to many other people as well. Well, though we only have Phil's side of the story, it's not that difficult to glean a very different one from simply looking into it. For starters, his last job was at Best Buy, and the story within is also very interesting.
The Pathfinder's killing me.
He was the leader of a business team and was paid better than everyone else, and that the leadership at Best Buy hated him because he made too much money. Again, this story is basically that he was so good at his job, there was no reason for the business team, which he was the leader of, to exist, and because they couldn't just fire him, they framed him for violating Best Buy's discount policy. That, or he did indeed get fired for violating Best Buy's discount policy, but I'll let you decide which is more likely. If only they reduced his pay instead of framing him, they would have found out that Phil is willing to be underpaid and work multiple jobs at the same time. Anyway, this is just a segue to the question, how did he get a job at a helicopter support company? The answer is deceptively simple. His dad. As a former logistics coordinator for HSI put it, there was a significant culture of being rewarded in accordance to who you know rather than what your work affects. Presumably, Phil heard these kinds of complaints from his more blue-collar workers and decided to pretend he was one of them, but the truth was precisely the opposite. His father, David, worked at the company as a customer support manager from 2005 to 2007, later being promoted to logistics manager and finally continuous improvement leader, which is noteworthy since this is the exact phrase Phil uses when describing his job and training at the company. It instantly becomes clear that David, having achieved a reputable position in the company, had his son hired as the position he used to occupy. The highest likelihood is that Phil simply transplanted his dad's achievements onto himself. Unlike Phil, his dad is an extremely experienced and highly skilled person, a former Marine with GPAs north of 3.7, along with a bachelor's, 2 masters, and 1 PhD, all related to quality management.
There's somebody with a resume.
HSI was just an extension of his already decades-long business relationship with his parent company, Sikorsky Aircraft. Having begun as a mere shop technician and being promoted all the way up to an elite position before becoming his own boss and opening a company of his own. The job he passed down to his son wasn't an entry position, it was something he worked up to for 3 decades. So it's no wonder Phil couldn't fill his shoes even a little bit. All of this becomes
oh my god, I'm gonna die. It was 161. Why was that so much damage? That's insane.
Corporate America is mean.
Come on.
To poor little blue-collar workers like him. When he was literally a nepotism hire. The whole being thoroughly trained for an elite position story also disintegrates once Phil makes the mistake of showing the award he got during a stream. As it turns out, the award for his amazing work was in fact simply a certificate that he had completed something called ACE certification program, which by doing cursory research into the company is something that tens of thousands of people go through at HSI and not a special program he was assigned to by the vice president himself. In any case, his delusion that his job at HSI is so great that he actually believes that him being laid off caused the company to go out of business.
Within a few years of me getting laid off, they went out of business.
Another very conveniently underexplained wrinkle in this
Maybe
story
because
is the
they
detail about
had
the
employees like you.
buying a condo so that he could live closer to the job. And I paraphrase, be the guy that shows up during a snowstorm when everyone else doesn't. The problem with this hustler's university tier motivational grind begins with the fact that he bought a condo while being supposedly severely underpaid. However, the real crux of the condo story comes when you find out that based on the intentional self-docs Phil gave out in a video tour of his condo and the public records of his dad's address, which are not going to be specified for privacy reasons, it was less than a 10-minute drive from his parents' house. He already lived near his job. All his move did was shave off a mere 5 minutes from the total commute, meaning he bought a $130,000 condo because he wanted to buy one. More avid followers of DSP and
I don't
added to
know.
the
A
EvE
condo for 130 grand that you owned wouldn't be that bad. That's not that bad. That's of all the things a streamer could buy, I think that's actually not that bad. It better be like 1,400 square feet though. You know? That's not that bad. That like honestly, that makes sure that you don't ever pay rent again, as long as you have enough money to pay, you know, the mortgage or whatever the fuck, or not mortgage, but you know, all your upkeep and everything. I bought something about a third of the value of that, and I've been the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. Not paying rent made me the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. Paying rent my whole life killed my soul. It absolutely did. I feel really very, you know, very adamant about this. Paying rent my entire life definitely killed my soul, and the minute that I stopped doing it,
analysis of his condo shenanigans, saying that part of Phil's motivations for buying property so close to his parents was so he could just go back to their house to get meals and his clothes washed, due to him being too much of a man-child to do those things himself. And to be honest, I actually agree with that lifestyle choice because I am a man baby and I refuse to do anything. Last but not least, his claim he at one point admitted to buying the condo from a girl he worked with in hopes of getting with her, only to be notified she had a boyfriend after the deal was closed. However, a lot of the original Dark Side Phil uploads have been privated or otherwise unavailable through regular means, so these footnotes have yet to be verified. But regardless of the whys and hows, despite his father's best efforts, Phil once again found himself unemployed, and it was during this period that he decided to pursue content creation full-time, and his hobby turned into his profession. There was only one pesky little issue with this plan. Phil had his AdSense account preemptively disabled for directly begging for his audience to click on the ads that appeared on his videos, something that went against the terms and conditions of the standard AdSense contract.
Please go to my partner channel, The King of Hate HD, and click on the ads that show up on the videos there, because hopefully, you know, fingers crossed.
Phil would later try and distract people from this fact by saying that the real reason his AdSense was suspended was due to a video of his being so successful, YouTube thought he was cheating.
I made this video of me in the shower topless, scrubbing my body, basically slurring my words because I had drank so much, alright? It went viral. Within a day, the thing had something like 30,000 views, if not more. And honestly, because I was making so much, you know, there were ads on it and people were going crazy for the ads, I made like $1,000 in a day on that video, which is out of control, right? But that video got so much attention, guess what? That was the video that triggered YouTube 7+ years ago to think that I was cheating with the AdSense program, and they contacted me and said, "We're kicking you out of the AdSense program on this channel because we suspect that you're sitting there clicking on the video to get ad revenue because you made so much in one day." And I was like, I didn't. It was the viewers. The viewers went nuts for this crazy video and probably went over and went, "Oh, I want to support Phil, the underdog, he just lost his job. Let's all click on the ads or whatever," which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to do that on YouTube. No, you're not supposed to ever try to have someone click on ads or anything. You're supposed to give their own free will. So YouTube falsely accused me of doing this myself.
That sounds very, very real. In the very same breath, he texted somebody asked for people to click on the ads, confirming that this was the violation in question before proceeding to haphazardly justify it. This wasn't the only blow Phil suffered, as a series of playthroughs he was in the process of completing were being uploaded to his channel
kill your career.
for Splinter Cell conviction. He got copyright striked, which made the original Dark Side Phil channel screech to a halt. In response to this, he created DSP Gaming, his longest running and currently still active main channel, even after the original original channel was reactivated when YouTube decided the copyright claims were indeed false. Since his AdSense account was still not working, the
41
prospect of being
herbalism.
a professional gaming content creator on YouTube was still squarely outside of Phil's purview.
35
So
to
he went another
go.
website, which at the time was one of YouTube's main competitors, Blip.tv. Blip was considered laxer on copyright issues, hence why creators like nostalgia critics Doug Walker also re-uploaded their content there. However, Phil's time on Blip was very short, as the more relaxed terms of service made him a little too comfortable. How comfortable? Well, he decided to roleplay as the last remaining Nazi during a playthrough of the game Dead Space 2, saying that every enemy he killed in game was Jewish.
This is what happens when you let the Jews do whatever they want. You've let the Jews overrun space, and now look at this. Their greed has had the artifact turn everyone into necromorphs.
Sorry, guys.
Things of all varieties. Eventually, it was canceled, however, due to the negative effects it was having on his health, due to how often the trying involved eating extremely unhealthy fast food. Despite the very rocky road he took to get to this point, Phil finally approached something resembling stability, and even a fan base who tolerated his attempts at humor and the incessant burping and snorting straight into the microphone. Okay, that's a little facetious. The Dead Space thing was honestly pretty funny. If you were to scroll through the comments on his condo tours from 2011, people were genuinely happy for Phil. Many even living vicariously through him, wishing they had an entire condo to be their man cave full of gaming memorabilia. For every person who knows about Phil, there are many more.
Here's somebody else who will say it right. Man cave filled with gaming memorabilia. It's girl repellent is an easier way to say it.
Or that enjoyed watching him. There was a moment in time in which it could be said the general audience wanted to like him, and there was a reason to be optimistic for the future of Darkside Phil. But nobody could predict how fast this reputation would sour.
Hate worthless humans. If you worked on this part of the game, you're a worthless human.
In the early 2010s, Google
He
reformed
might be
its
right.
AdSense system, and now it rewarded viewer retention instead of sheer numbers of views.
I mean,
Essentially,
he might be right, though. They might be kind of worthless humans who ruin video games with their bad development, though. He might be right about that one, and that's probably why some of the people liked him. Is he actually might be kind of right about that. Hey, worthless humans, did you do this puzzle? Did you do this puzzle in Elden Ring? Because, or whatever, not Elden Ring, but, you know, like you might be, because you might be a worthless human being. I would say something like that. You might be worthless if you made a puzzle like this in your game. I can see saying that. I easily could. I'll say it right now. You might be a worthless human being if you designed your game like this.
the longer someone watches
It's actually
your
very
video,
funny.
the better. Just getting a click is not enough to make as much money as someone who gets people to stick around on their video for an hour. This was an issue for Phil since he had a penchant for splitting his videos up into dozens of little tidbits, rarely cracking 10 minutes, often being as short as 2. He also refused to improve the technical aspects of his content.
That's kind of, that kind of works, doesn't it?
Out of it and how many of his actual
I can't stop doing
fans
2-hour
By
videos.
2011, PewDiePie was already soaring to insane heights of popularity with relatively good quality, a decent mic, and even a face cam, setting a new standard for gaming content, while Phil was still languishing with his busted camera filming a screen with little to no editing to speak of. The problem became more and more inflamed as time went on, and Phil's viewers let him know that if he wasn't interested in evolving his format, they would move on to newer and better channels than his, to which he either responded with derision, a ban from his channel comments, or both. In short, ESP made it clear he didn't want to treat YouTube like it was, his job and his only source of income.
2 years ago, it was about me, waking up, putting my camera down whenever the hell I felt like it, recording for a few hours and uploading
44.
Now,
Gotta get 25 more herbs.
every day.
Ugh.
Whether I feel
Or
good
30,
or not,
like 30 more
plopping
herbs.
down on the couch, setting up live streaming on a schedule so you guys can watch live. Then trying to figure out how to schedule out uploads. And actually, I'd say this: it's actually more work at this point doing what I'm doing because it is more like having a regular job. Every day I'm trying to do something because that's the kind of day.
Yeah, like I picked a 12-hour day where I post 12 hours worth of videos, 2-hour videos, 6 of them each day, 5, 6 of them. Sometimes I skip days, but I'm usually on stream anyways if I'm not. And I picked this not because I feel like I couldn't ever do it, but because I feel like I can do it for the rest of my life. I feel like I can do the schedule. If I was him, I would have worried about that. I would have been like, can I keep up this pace? Can I keep up this pace forever? No. And I think a lot of creators need to think about this. Can you keep up that Dynamite Kaisenot pace for the rest of your life? No. No, you can't.
Dedication that I put towards this effort. So, sitting down, streaming for several hours, uploading videos, streaming a second stream, babysitting the videos.
Streaming a second stream? What do you mean streaming a second stream? How the fuck do you stream he's talking about multi-streaming? He thinks that multi-streaming is somehow like an accolade when it's clicking a button every time you launch stream. It's multi-streaming is not like an accomplishment. it's clicking a button at the beginning of your session. Like that is not an if that's what he's even talking about. Because if he's talking about doing 2 streams at once, how the fuck would you even do that? Like without, are you talking about changing? Like okay, you have 2 streams on 2 platforms with 2 different titles. How would you do that? You would. I mean, you can't. You're gonna get kicked off one or both.
Keeping you guys in the
He's talking about multi-streaming, which is not a fucking accomplishment. That is, I mean, that is not. That it's your choice to do so, and it's more pressure, and it's building on 2 platforms, which is harder. But I think most modern streamers do it. I don't think it's some accomplishment. I think it's just a requirement for the job. I don't think it's this thing that you need to worry about very much.
It's a lot of work versus what I used to do.
I suppose for someone like him, I will say this. It just occurred to me that if he already had an established YouTube channel and he suddenly had this desire to be a successful streamer at the same time, I assume he was a streamer before he was a successful YouTube guy, but I could see how it would be pressure to do a stream at the same time as being on YouTube as a streamer. But I don't think back then you could stream to YouTube back then. I think it was only Twitch. I think he's talking about having 2 streams, which I don't understand. How would you have 2 streams? I guess I just don't have the imagination to figure out what he means by that. Because back then you couldn't multi-stream to any of them, I don't think. Like, I mean, I guess you could do like TikTok and Twitch, I guess, or something, but TikTok's only been around for 3 years. When in the era that he's talking about, I don't think you could multi-stream. There was only one streaming platform.
Very rarely do you get this clear of an admission of laziness. He often bragged about how much money he made off of his channel, but clearly it wasn't enough for him to hire an editor, get a capture card, or basically anything that would improve.
Fuck no. By the time, okay, if I'm gonna hire an editor and get a capture card, I'm gonna be making 70 grand. Otherwise, that money just goes to support my family and fix all the problems that financially my family is facing. That's it. Otherwise, no. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thumbs up.
Improve the experience for the viewer.
How much is a capture card? I don't need a capture card, I don't think. It would be nice, but I don't think I need a capture card, I'm fairly sure. Where is this? It's like, oh, there we go.
Being the reason he gets any money in the first place. And if that weren't enough, even in hindsight, he sees nothing wrong with his attitude and actually blamed the negative responses he was getting on people being envious of how much money he was making. Due to his plummeting popularity and concomitantly his depleting AdSense revenue, Machinima sought to reevaluate his contract, renegotiating various areas of their partnership. Particularly, the amount Phil was paid for pumping out his content slop was under heavy scrutiny, since Machinima was receiving a lot less from advertisers. It seems that this renegotiation talk finally lit an ember under Phil's ass and got him to at least try and do different things than his usual stick. One of these things was a series called Project 7, which was purportedly made based on suggestions from Machinima and his fanbase. I know this era of YouTube, and particularly content adjacent to AVGN and Nostalgia Critic, which this definitely was, is typically cringy and corny, and that's part of the appeal, but I think this was cutting it a little bit close.
That's right, and you'll never escape my clutches.
That's just me being a hater though, because alongside with his panel at MagFest 2012, Project 7 was one of the very few instances of genuine positivity surrounding Phil's come up. And for a very brief period, it was almost as if he wasn't completely phoning it in for the money. However, despite Project 7 looking good on Phil's resume, and giving his channel the appearance that he was indeed putting in an effort, the stories surrounding it behind the scenes were dismal. In an hour-and-a-half long video that eventually came out in 2015, only to be taken down by Phil due to it being a PR nightmare for him, his friends John Rambo and Howard, with whom he did Project 7, told the truth about how it was made. Mind you, this wasn't initiated by John and Howard, but by Phil himself, who, when asked about the rumors of the two no longer being friends with him, said that real men discussed their problems and suggested that the only feasible explanation for their falling out is that they were jealous of him, as Phil tends to do. All of the videos of Project 7, which heavily relied on editing and storyboarding, were produced by two childhood friends of Howard's, Andre and Paul, who ran the YouTube channel Respect the Pact. As a matter of fact, they were the ones who had the idea for Project 7 and only brought Phil in, presumably because he was looking for ways to branch out with his content. Initially, Phil being the face of it meant that their work would get more eyes on it than usual, which is a good thing. However, they quickly realized Phil wasn't exactly someone who exhibited good faith. For starters, the editing and special effects, which again were the brunt of the series, was taking up a lot of Andre and Paul's time, especially since Andre was about to become a father. This prompted John to tell Phil to pay them for their efforts, to which Phil replied he had already offered to do so, and they turned it down. This turned out to be a bold-faced lie, which was instantly revealed once John mentioned it to them. Apparently, Phil had every intention of keeping every proceed from Project 7 to himself, and wanted to share it with absolutely no one. And before you think this is because of machinima renegotiations or what have you, during the production and publishing of the show, Howard noticed that Phil bought a plethora of expensive man-baby gamer toys, which he's known for decking his house out.
They all do
and
this.
If that isn't enough to invoke a sense of injustice, a BMW. Notwithstanding, everyone involved in the series contributed out of their own pocket to produce and sell merchandise for it, but only Phil ever saw any of the resulting revenue. The pettiness on Phil's part was so extensive that he didn't even tolerate positive comments about the other participants in Project 7. Upon seeing John Rambo's contributions to the show be considered funnier and better performed than his, Phil rushed to claim that everything, including their lines, was his idea.
It's like these children that would be like pissants on the playground are given money and free reign to just act like a jackass on the like a jackass bully on the playground. It is full of this angry male energy that I don't see a lot of females around and that kind of thing. And it just seems like some angry little schoolyard bully was given like a job as a content provider, and he only likes crabby people, and I don't know.
And they were not. They confronted him about it, and he apologized, but according to John in particular, Phil's apologies meant very little. Over the course of their friendship, Phil tended to either make a slight or tell a lie about John, apologize when confronted, only to do it again a while after. Ultimately, this is why their friendship broke down. They simply lost all faith that Phil could listen and care about what actions of his made his pretty much only friends uncomfortable or upset, and gave up on interacting with him altogether. Eventually, in 2022, Phil claimed that the reason no payment was made to them for their work on the project was due to the fact that, indeed, the project was losing money. Even if this was the case, and who knows, there's a fair chance it was, he could have just communicated that to them. The fact that he didn't talk about the project failing until 10 years later is at least a little bit suspicious, I guess. Just a little. While the seeds were being sown for the disintegration of Phil's relationship with his friends, he was beginning a new relationship with someone else. Leanna, also known as Panda Lee Games, or just Panda Lee. Immediately, people took issue with the fact that Phil was 30 years old while Leanna was born in 1993, meaning in 2012 she would have been 19 turning 20. Since Phil's life was indistinguishable from his content at this point, since he would spend most of his waking hours doing something or other to contribute to the pump.
I don't know, she looks like she'd be a good match for him to me. They both look like crabby people.
Out of more content, Leanna coming into his life meant that she was bound to show up on the videos as well. However, some viewers took issues with this, as her presence was sometimes considered disruptive to the regular flow of content. Personally, I don't get this very much because as far as I can tell, she was basically the female version of Phil, and close to being as obnoxious and insensitive as he was.
But anyway, yeah, you gotta like expose the Illuminati. They know everything, but I know more.
Viewers attempted to negotiate with Phil regarding her presence in the videos, but Phil, like he always does, took this constructive criticism as abject hatred and responded exactly how you'd expect him to. When a commenter said, "Don't mind her doing playthrough with you, but these type of vlogs should just be you," he replied with a very gracious, "You're a idiot. The Leanna situation went on for a while, despite the consistent grumbling of some members of the audience. Until one day, it scabbed over during a
Consistent
stream in which
grumbling.
Phil was playing Kingdom Hearts. Panda Lee began provoking the chat by making a series of remarks about the game's quality. Kingdom Hearts is boring. All fanboys,
Kingdom
please cry
Hearts.
into jars so I can moisturize in your sadness and rage. Due to this somewhat inflammatory comment towards a
I mean,
beloved
it's true,
franchise,
but-
people fell to her goading and began arguing with her in chat. This is hardly a shock.
She
because
shouldn't
when
say
people
it.
are watching Phil play a game, it tends to be because they like the game. This
I'm
went
just
on
kidding.
until the
Kingdom Hearts is actually not boring, and I wish I could replay it on PC without paying $50. I wish they would sell that collection for like $20. I would buy it. I would not mind playing the original Kingdom Hearts. It's a very good RPG. It's good ARPG. Music's good.
crushing majority of chat turned against her, not just because they liked Kingdom Hearts, but because she was actively drawing negative attention to herself for no reason. All of it culminated in her appealing to Phil to do something about people being mean to her in chat, and so Phil conceded.
Alright, and now I'm going to tell everyone in the chat
So
I've
fuck
had enough
off.
of your bullshit tonight. I see everyone arguing with my girlfriend instead of talking about the game, and I've had enough. So we're going to put it in sub-only mode, and now none of you can talk since you can't act your age or act mature, and you all want to argue.
Shit, the whole problem is you gotta keep it in sub-only mode. the first thing I did when I was like, when I took affiliateship with Twitch, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 days ago, I was like, sub-only mode, yeah! I don't care if it kills my career. I frankly don't want to babysit kids who aren't willing to pay me to do it. You want to pay me, I'll babysit. I don't know. I had a comment there from a friend who I kicked because of it, who had already bought me a game even. He was a friend, but he made a comment I couldn't fucking stand, so I just kicked him immediately. I thought about it, and as in the moment, I told him, I was like, look, I'm like trying to back up on this, but I can't. I'm gonna kick you, and I did. I kicked him. And I feel so bad about this, but like his chat was like, it was like babysitting sophomore year. It was like babysitting sophomores. It was okay, but it definitely was something that they should pay me like a teacher's salary to do. I don't think I want to do that ever again. And so I was like, man, I was ready to leave Twitch, and then overnight they were like, yeah, you can multi-stream now without any consequences, and we won't demonetize you. And I was like, really? Okay. Well, I'm not gonna multi-stream without like country, against contract, because then you'll just find a way to take my money away. So then I signed up for Twitch. I took the affiliateship, and the first thing I did is switch to sub-only mode, and my life got so much better. My life got so much better, I can't even tell you. And that's the problem. He should have just had it on the whole time.
Chat, how about that? So, for all of you who are acting immature, this is what you get now. Putting it in sub-only mode.
Yeah, I'll babysit or just, and some of my community, well, all my community almost, except for those kids, were really wonderful people that I love to be around and talk to and do. And the people who followed me for 3 months can talk to me if they want. But I mean, like, yeah, I don't want to babysit. That was not what I got into do. I'm not a good role model. I don't think the kids should be in my channel. I'm an ex-heroin addict. I don't think they should be in my channel. This is an adult stream. It's an adult stream. Fuck it.
If people had found her to be a slight, even
Like
if it
ex-heroin, ex-meth addict, like high-speed chase guy, don't be hanging around my channel if you're a kid. I had to accept this. One night I woke up and I realized that I had been catering to kids for like 18 months, and that all my attackers were kids, and that all of them were dumb, and I knew who all they all. By the end, I knew all their name, their real life names, and all this too. So then I like confirmed it with their Facebooks and stuff, and I was like, yeah, the kids were the problem, and I immediately was like, no problem. The day I took affiliateship, I was like, ooh, I can go sub only mode. Immediately, yeah, I was immediately like, yep, there it is, and then immediately it just stopped. It just stopped. It was great. It was the best decision ever. Oh, I'm full. Yeah, I'm full. Shit. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's go back. She does not look happy. I mean, well, dealing with those people, I get it, but still, like if you add crabapple-ness in the mix, if you're baking a crabapple pie of trolls, you don't want to be crabapple yourself. Or then you just got crabapple, period. You're just a big mess of crabapple. It's like, if you're looking kind of bitter and all that. I got angry, but I never got bitter or like unhappy looking with them. That's not something I'm gonna do. I'm not, like, honestly.
annoyance before. Now she had been seen as a book.
On top of it, how does it look to others when I say, yeah, I made it in sub-only mode? That's another thing. I thought of it like a hardcore challenge. I wonder if I could just make it, or just keep the people away who don't understand what it is that I'm doing, and at the end of it, use it like a brag. Yo, I'm like, yeah, like 18 months in, I just went sub-only mode and never went back because it was so much better. The people, they control you, but I feel like they should have to. I feel like they should have to pay you if they want to be negative. You know, like you can pay me if you want to come be negative. You know. Because it's like my channel, I don't have to put up with negativity. I like sub only too, right? Number 2's been here the entire fucking time, right? Yeah, number 2's been here the entire time, and number 2 probably it's a lot more chill, right? It's a lot more chill. It's like way less aggro. It's yeah. So yeah, there we go.
Was prone to instigating conflict.
Thank you, number 2. I appreciate your valid input. Thank you. You are a wonderful member of my community, the best. You know what I'm saying? Hells yeah.
His audience, only to run back under his umbrella.
I like echo chambers. I like it when people repeat what I like and I think. As you can see, it's so nice to have an echo chamber, but it is cool. I think you're being legit. I think you mean what you say, and it's cool. It's good to have it echo back because it's like, you know, I feel this way. I think some of my mods didn't even feel that way, I don't think. I had mods that I didn't have a problem letting go because I felt that they thought it was okay if people came in and were like negative to me. I really did. I thought that they thought that it was okay. They thought that there was some social contract that I was making by wanting to be famous. But see, that's the difference. I don't care if I'm famous or not. I don't care about fame. I'm not into it for that. Like, so, like, you know, so they thought that because I was trying to be famous or rich or something like that, that it was just, that it was my job to put up with the negativity of the public. And no, now that might cost me success not putting up with the negativity of the public, but I'd rather have that. I'd rather have not success than dealing with the negativity of the public. I have PTSD, I can't handle it. And we've seen lately through all the videos that I've been watching that streamers with, or whatever, content providers with PTSD who don't have thick skin, who can't handle it, get in bad situations. So yeah, it was very easy for me to put on sub-only mode because I was like, yeah, I'd rather kill my career putting it in sub-only mode than dealing with being a babysitter that gets trolled all day. I'm not gonna do that. If they want to troll me, sure, please, but pay me if you want to take up my time like that, because I don't need to. It's my channel. It's the same thing as your home. If you opened your door to the neighborhood and you were like, open house, and they come in and they immediately tell you how bad your clothes look and how bad your wallpaper is and how fat you are and all this other stuff and how much of a loser you are and how much of a liar you are and all this shit, right? You say, well, I have an open house, so it's my decision to let you in here, but if you want to talk shit, I'm gonna mute you in my own home, which means that, like, I can kick you out of here in my own home. If you can talk shit if you want to, but you have to pay me first. And that was the first place my mind went. As I was like, yeah, actually, I really don't mind being trolled by people if they pay me first. I'm okay with that. Otherwise, take your negativity the fuck somewhere else. I don't go to your house and be negative to you. I don't go to someone's stream and talk shit to them. It's just not something I've ever fucking done. Not once, not ever will do. So...
how she treated
and sometimes they're biased with it. Sometimes they don't like the same things that you think. And my problem with that was, it's like, well, then why are you watching me? If you aren't like if you're at least not okay with being around ultra liberal, almost basically anarcho-communist people, then don't hang around in their stream. If you don't like fat people, don't hang out with this. Don't if you can't at least stomach a fat person, don't hang out in the stream. You know, this was eventually the logic of other streamers was leaking into my I kept thinking I'm doing something wrong, but no, it is them. They don't need to sit there and be negative, and if they do, they should pay.
He also took on Phil's tendencies.
And if they pay me, sure, talk shit about me all day. You pay me, I'll consider it a price of business. I'll consider it a cost of business. Pay me $5 and tell me how much of a piece of shit I am. I'll take your $5 and I'll be like, yeah, I am. I was an ex-drug dealer. I've done bad things to people with credit cards and stuff. I've definitely like been a bad person, been homeless on the street for 7 years and shit. Wasn't too good of a person. Been in high-speed chases with police. I've hunted police. I'm not a good person. I'm not a good role model. Don't want the kids in the channel. Don't want to babysit. I'm not a good role model. I'm a good adult, but I'm not a good role model. I'm a good adult. I paid my debts to society. I never harmed anybody that I ever met. I've never physically harmed a human being ever, and the most debts I've ever racked up with anybody is like 15 grand. We talked about that earlier today. I'm not some feckless person that harmed other people or whatever. So when it comes to like relativity, kind of like, yeah, you can troll me, but you better pay me for it, because most of the things that you're gonna say beyond you're fat or whatever probably aren't true.
Participating in flame wars in the comment sections, saying things like, I get paid for trolls to watch and whine. So I don't see...
Yeah, like, honestly, yeah. Like, I think, honestly, I don't care. I don't, like, honestly, if the trolls need a target, I'm okay with that, but fucking pay me first.
Harm and letting me get paid.
And honestly, I think that's the whole part of their game. They don't want to pay. They want free entertainment where they're cackling and laughing for 5 hours while they troll you to your fucking face and making fun of you and irking you and all this stuff. Okay, that's great, but why not pay me for that then? You know, pay me for that.
Yeah, you clearly aren't getting any, but Phil is and has for over a year now. And let's be honest, you think you or anyone else thinks, because we don't. If you were in front of me face to face, you get a nice helping of my fist punching you right in the balls. Perhaps the most ironic moment out of the whole situation was that years later, Phil actually threw her under the bus and described her as someone who was confrontational and always wanted to get the one up on everyone else.
Dude.
I mentioned it before, but
no, dude, she's not going to be as bad as you, and you should have kept her around. She's probably the only person on the fucking planet that can stand you. If she can stand you, she's probably a crab apple herself, and you should have shut the fuck up about that, shouldn't you have? Probably should have shut the fuck up about that. You probably did write her about it. You're more negative than me. Well, at least she's negative like you. You know what I'm saying? At least she's like you. Like, you know. I've had a lot of girls step at me in the last like 10 years. They were like really pissed off that I turned them down. Like, some of them I'm sure thought I was gay, but the difference is they're actually not nice people. Some of them were not nice people. They were not really not deep down inside. I could see it when they would like when they would be very unhappy when I was a happy person, you know, and
the same trait that made Phil so unlikable early on. So
oh, good. I'm at 57, guys. 57. I have what is this? 75. 23 more to go, and I'm done with herbalism hell in Shadowglen doing nothing at all.
Really
just so I can lose this and dye this to 2 cats in Darkshore, you know? It's such a gamble.
Along with each other so well.
But hey, if I didn't sit and do the fishing, and I didn't sit and do the cooking, and I didn't sit and do the fucking skinning and the fucking herbalism and all that, right? It wouldn't feel so fucking hilariously bad when I inevitably fuck up and lose my character in hardcore, right? If I didn't do all this work, it wouldn't have any weight to it.
People. But Leanna did serve a purpose in the larger narrative of ESP. Her presence led to much more concrete displays of disrespect.
It's probably torture to watch you do, like, it's probably frankly torture to watch me do Shadowglen over and over and over and over again. I don't care, I'll torture you with it, because that's the name of hardcore. It's a rogue. The entire point is how you die, not if you're gonna die. It's how you die.
Audience.
If you didn't die, then you're a really good hardcore player. But it takes some time to be a really good hardcore player. It takes some time.
The reason many of Phil's fans noticed how comfortable he was, disregarding their opinions and just doing whatever he wanted at their behest. Besides the beginning of Leanna's presence in his life and content, 2012 was also marked by even more examples of Phil being terrible at gaming, despite it being the core of his job. The most glaring instance was during a video of Half-Life Black Mesa, in which he failed to pay attention to the game's tutorial instructions, proceeded to struggle for 30 minutes in an area of the game because he didn't know how to crouch jump.
How do you not know Half-Life 2? You're a scrub. You don't deserve the money. I'm sorry, what I just said was incredibly mean and way over the line, and I apologize and I take it back. The man obviously deserved whatever he got. He got it. But I'm just saying, if you don't know Half-Life 2, I don't think you should be this millions of hits video gamer streamer. If you don't know Half-Life 2, You better either be a kid who just wasn't alive yet, or you're bad. I'm sorry. And that's really really toxic and harmful and hurtful. So I'm going to leave it as an option, right? Or you're bad. One or the other. Let's hope that he's just too busy to know what Half-Life 2 is, because I don't know a single fucking gamer in my circles who didn't beat Half-Life 2 at least twice. Even the ones who thought shooters were too nerdy and stupid still beat Half-Life 2, you know? And Half-Life 1, to be honest. And that's weird when you hear somebody like fail on Half-Life 2. That was a base game. I mean, difficulty-wise, Half-Life 2 is a little hard, but it's not. But it's an old game.
If the game's movement was actually
that dude looks like he's my age. He's got to be 34 at the youngest, something like that. How the fuck does he fail at Half-Life 2? That is bad, though. Shall I play Half-Life 2 on my stream? I think I have. I think I did play Half-Life 2 last year on extreme difficulty for, I think it was like 13 hours, and I still have the save. I'm in somewhere in because I modded it. I super modded Half-Life 2 to be the coolest experience that I could ever get it to be. And then I did like 14 hours of it on my stream, and then I think I had to reformat because I was in the Streamlabs era where Streamlabs was crashing like 25 times every day. And I think I reformatted Half-Life 2 off my drive, but I wish I had kept that because it's actually some work to fully mod Half-Life 2. And then I did on stream somewhere in the YouTube catalog, there is like a session of 14 hours of Half-Life 2, and I don't recall dying. I don't recall dying. I don't recall taking enough damage to go below 75 health, honestly. I don't recall dying.
Up until this moment, Phil's haters were disorganized and disaffected.
And Black Mesa is a good game that really holds your hand and really doesn't drop you into it. I mean, Black Mesa is more like helpful than... I mean, I guess Half-Life 1 is a little harder of a game, but it's not a hard shooter. I must have beat it like 50 times because it's not hard.
How pointed the criticisms of Phil and his content were.
It's hard. Fighting the military dudes can be hard when you're low health if you let yourself get low health. You know.
Aggro.
The military dudes can be unfair. The helicopter can be unfair. But the you know, but that's it. That's about it. The B tanks can be unfair. But we're talking, at that point, you're at least 15 hours in, not the first 2 hours. If you fail at Half-Life 2, you really probably shouldn't be... I think the community is being too toxic and shitty to say this way, but I tend to agree maybe. If you can't beat Half-Life 2 on stream, I don't necessarily think you should be streaming video games necessarily. Because it's like the most easy, or Half-Life 1 even. He's talking about Half-Life 1. Half-Life 2 I think is harder than 1.
Years. But as 2013 began, this was fated to change. A YouTube account called Evil AJ 2010 uploaded the very first entry to a sprawling series of videos that would ultimately
So they talked about this with him before. He changes his name, and then he gets pretty famous pretty fast again. And this is obviously because his fans probably found him and lit him up on a Discord or something like that. But I also wonder that maybe they're just actually what the public is looking for when they do this, when they just change their name. I think I could do it. I think I could just change my name, disappear, lose all my fans, and start over. And I think I probably could reach 5,000 follows again. I guarantee it. And all the viewership again. I'm fairly sure I could do it again.
Aggro.
So, like, or probably better. Honestly, I wouldn't have the poisoned image I have from sitting around for 2 fucking years and screaming at the top of my lungs every time I was angry. I probably now that I don't do that much anymore. I do it some, but I don't do it that much anymore. Like, I probably actually would do better. I would do better if I reset my name entirely, and I'm not going to do that. I promise I won't. I love my name. My mother gave me my streamer name, and I'm not losing it. Same as in real life. My mother gave me my names, and I'm not gonna change them. But like, I've never been ashamed of who I am, and I'm still not. I know I'm supposed to be or whatever because I'm a professional gamer, but no. But okay. Okay, how about this? Instead of failing at Half-Life Mesa, Black Mesa, Half-Life 1, Black Mesa, whatever. how about, what did I do last year? I'm really immensely proud of this, right? I beat Alien Isolation for the first time that I'd ever, well, the second time I'd ever played it, but I only played it the first time for like 20 hours on PlayStation 4. And then I beat it on hard. First time I ever played it. I used a walkthrough, but I beat it. I beat it on hard first time. And I did it on stream 6 days before Hollywood. Sorry, Halloween, excuse me. And then right after that, I beat Resident Evil 7 the first time on hard on my stream that same 2-week period around Halloween. Then I did BioShock Infinite on hard first time, first playthrough on stream. And on Alien Isolation, I didn't die that much. So like, now I used walkthroughs when I got stuck. You know, I didn't follow walkthroughs carefully. I can't do that on stream. It takes too much time. So I like played the game legitimately, right? I did this on stream, and I could go back to October of last year or 22, and I can see around Halloween that I beat 3 really hard horror games, legitimately hard, on hard. First time I played them through. Losing Black Lives Mesa is pretty much the opposite end of that spectrum, and I'm not sure you should be a professional like gaming content provider if you can't even beat the games. That, I guess that, I don't know where the line in the sand that I draw is, but I believe that if you can't even beat the games, I don't know if you should be famous. That's the difference. I think I could probably beat any game out there and have done so on stream. Like last year, I beat all of Elden Ring on stream. All of it. And yeah, I had help on 4 of the bosses, including the last boss. But no, I did most of that solo as I'm wont to do. And I can load that game right now to prove it too. I'm into New Game Plus like another 40 hours or whatever the fuck it was. And so now, you know, like, I don't know, man, I'm obviously not good at gaming. I'm not a super I'm not a super hardcore high quality gamer. I'm not. I die all the time. Every day I die like 25 times, often because I'm AFK, which makes me even worse of a gamer, right? But I don't care. Like, I still don't think I would lose to Half-Life 1, you know? Especially because a good gamer would have beaten that game at least twice. You know what I'm saying? So then you gotta wonder, like, is it some mudsucker who came up from the bottom trying to make it in some arena, like trying to fake it to make it in some arena that they don't deserve to be in? And this bothers me because I did do the blood, sweat, and tears. I screamed out the anger on my stream over 18 months. I paid the cost to be the boss. I don't know.
Phil's downfall as a content creator. This series was called "This Is How You Don't Play," and it
yeah, this is how you don't play Metal Gear Solid 2. Yeah, like what?
Throughs while highlighting the funniest examples of him being awful at a game. The first one contains
now I think that what they're doing though is a little bit unfair. They're conflating a successful content creator's attention span and ability to focus or inability to play games that they haven't beaten 10 times before with being bad. And this is where I struggle with calling him bad. I have the same issues. Like, you know, so if you were to throw me up on, like, for instance, on stream, a game that I did quit on stream was Sekiro. I never did beat Sekiro, but I did get 3/4 of the way through it on stream. Now, I didn't die so much that I failed at it. I just lost interest in Sekiro. I didn't think it was as good as like, I felt that, you know, like, waiting for Elden Ring was more fun than playing Sekiro, and I didn't think it held up to Bloodborne or Dark Souls 1 or even Dark Souls 3. Of all those games, I think Sekiro was actually my least favorite, frankly. It is. I mean, Sekiro is my least favorite of all those games. I think it departed from the Souls-like the most. I think it was the easiest one. It was the most fluid one, but it was also the most clunky. And the grappling hook was cool at first, but then eventually it ended up being a job. It ended up being a job, that grappling hook. It was the same sort of intensiveness that Tenchu 1, 2, and 3 were. And I like grappling hooks, but honestly, the grappling hook that I want was in Halo Infinite. You know, that clunky Sekiro shitty grappling hook that only does to one focal point. I'm sorry, but I thought that actually detracted to Sekiro. And I know that's everybody's wonderful game, that their favorite. And I like that game, and I'll beat it. I don't care. But I have my save that's 3/4 of the way through still. It's just, you know, I have Sekiro sitting in my D drive. I just don't, you know, I don't think that was the best Souls-like, and it's hard for me to choose a single player Souls-like over an MMORPG. I've just never been my style. I don't think I want to sit on single player, you know, Souls-like games all the time. I really don't. If I'm going to do that, it'll be New World. New World is the only single player Souls-like that I'm willing to play anymore, beyond Bloodborne, which they won't remaster. So and here we go. So you can see how they hyperbolically like conflate and inflate his problems with sucking a video game. But I don't know about that. I think they're actually just busy ass content creators who just can't focus. And I want to give them the benefit of a doubt, because I think if you were to turn off the camera, take his wife out of the room, take the trolls out of the room, give him a few days on the beach with no phone and no stress, right? And then bring him back and put him in a dark room with a big television and 7.1 surround and a controller and shit. I guarantee you he's going to slaughter the fuck out of Black Mesa and not even die once. So, and I guarantee you this. I guarantee it. I don't believe they could make it this far without that ability. I think you're conflating complete distraction with being bad. And I really do feel this way. I'm not trying to defend him. I don't think he's a good gamer. I've seen it. I saw him suck already on the camera.
Phil playing Metal Gear, a stealth game, like it was a regular.
So they go after
game.
him, but I mean, honestly, it's a content creator who's answering 50 emails a day, dealing with a wife, dealing with a, you know, a community that's rambunctious and crazy because he built them that way, and that's who he attracted to his stream. He's got DMs sliding in that he's got to pay attention to because they might be money. He's got all these problems going on. And yeah, woe is me. It's so the woes of a content provider must be so bad or whatever. But that distraction is real, and it does lead to looking like you're the worst gamer on the planet. It does. I've seen it. I've done it.
Dying a lot in the process. Phil addressed this during one of his long-winded rant videos.
Like, I was so stressed out about Streamlabs last year that I was having bad matches. I knew I was. I was like, I can't stop focusing on the reality that Streamlabs is crashing like 20 times a day, and I was sucking at gaming because all I was doing all day long. Number 2 was there for some of that. I was just screaming at the top of my lungs about Streamlabs all day. There was no way I could possibly be a good gamer at that time. There was no way.
And though he made an effort to claim that they were the dumb ones for paying attention to DSP's playthroughs and indirectly making him money, it was clear that for whatever reason, being called bad at a game bugged him, even if just a little. At face value, it's just a video.
But you might be bad at Half-Life 1 if you've never played it before. Is there anything wrong with that? If he never played it before, he obviously sucked and couldn't get past the first puzzle. But Half-Life 1 is so memorable that it's hard not to remember all the puzzles. It's like an easy game. So like if he's never played Half-Life 1 before, I could see him getting stuck on a puzzle and raging out if he's already distracted in the real life. The same would happen to you. This is something that can happen to anybody. They call it in sports, they call it the YIFs, YIFS. It's called the YIFs. Is when you inexplicably fucking lose when you're considered to be one of the best in the world. And they can't shock it. Some people call it choking, but I don't think it's that. It's actually literally a psychological block that you created in your own mind that's controlling your actions, but you can't be aware of it. That, you know, it's crazy.
Highlighting how much he sucks at Metal Gear Solid. It's not that big of a deal, right?
I don't think being good or bad at Metal Gear. I don't think this boomer being good at Metal Gear Solid 1 or whatever, or Half-Life 1 or Metal Gear Solid 2. I don't think that matters. I think I would care if he was sitting in League of Legends in Diamond screaming about losing champion or whatever it is, platinum or whatever the fuck next color is in League of Legends. I've never played League of Legends. I don't know. Whatever, you know, so you're sitting in Diamond and you're a platinum and you're trying to get the grind up to like the tier 4 or tier 5 or whatever. And you're talking a lot of shit, right? Like, then I'm going to call you a bad gamer if you can't get out of the ELO and you keep talking shit and you got a negative attitude and you can't bust. Like, one of the things that I can do on stream if I wanted to was I can still do it. I can still go get 3,200 on Overwatch. I can still do that. There's nothing stopping me. I can go in there and I can build a group and I can look at their fucking scores and I can make sure that they actually have the heals per 10 and the DPS per 10 and the elims per 10 to actually support, which is like to me 37 or more. If they had 37 or more elims prelims, I'll let them in my fucking 5-man, and I'll take them in Overwatch 2 competitive, and I'll go to 3200. It's not that fucking hard. I've done it like 5 times. It's not that fucking hard. They act like it is, but it's not. But most people can't get out of ELO silver, gold, hell when they're maining. And so my thing is like, when you're maining, you better be up at platinum and competitive if you're maining. Like, it's okay to be in gold and silver if you only play like once a week. It's okay. This is that thing. It's okay for him to suck at Half-Life 1 if he's never played it before. But it's not okay for him to sit in Diamond and talk shit to other League of Legends players because he can't get out of ELO hell. That's a lot different. If it's a game he's never played before, I think it's okay to get fucked up on some puzzle because you don't know what the fucking developer's thinking because you have Asperger's. I see a guy with Asperger's. And I think he's probably, just like me, liable to have stuff like spatial reasoning disorders and problems with video games and stuff. And so that he might choke on an early puzzle in an old game that he's never played before. It gets held up and it just quits out of frustration and shit because he's got a lot of people in the audience, right? And you can see, I'm not trying to defend him. I'm trying to say the reality of it is, it's not some gamer in his prime. It's somebody under a lot of stress. It's like blaming like an exhausted pilot for falling asleep or something. But I mean, did you put him on the deadhead for 37 hours? You know, it's just sort of like, yeah, he's under so much stress and pressure that you know, especially if he's making like $10 million off YouTube, he's under so much goddamn stress and pressure, and he does have an editor. It's probably his wife, and he does have a videographer, and it's probably his wife, and he does have trolls and people trying to steal his info and all these other problems.
On how bad I am at video games. They could make billions.
Yeah, billions.
Phil, it was the struggle.
Yeah, like I don't care about being good at video games. They could do series about how bad I am at video games. I don't sit around and say how good I am. I talk about the trophies and the accolades that I actually have, you know?
That broke the camel's back. The dam was cracking, and many of Phil's detractors, as he came to
64 herbalism,
saw it as a sign that they could also speak about their grievances with DSP in general. Slowly, the spark created by this video turned into a wildfire. To an extent, it was more popular than Phil himself. Due to Phil's focus on quantity over quality, the views his videos got weren't really attached to him or his brand, nor on how good the videos were. Hence why they oscillated so much depending on what game he played or what the video's topic was. Meanwhile, the How You Don't Play video catered to a very specific audience. People who didn't like Phil, and there was definitely an audience for that. It seemed like Phil felt the shift to his public image happen in real time, prompting him to make 2 videos to address the negativity, though he acted as if people actually hated him just because he was bad at the games. The thing is, many people have marketed their gaming videos on them sucking at it and dying a lot, but DSP was the opposite. He had a history of branding himself as a pro player and of blaming the game whenever he sucked. Part of his ego, part of his persona, was that he was
I will blame the developers when their keybinds are so fucking bad. Like, for instance, okay, they don't talk about this with Dark Souls, but do you guys remember how actually bad it is to change weapons in your right and left hand on the keyboard mouse when you're playing Elden Ring? Do you remember how bad it is? It's actually super fucking bad. It's really annoying. You've got 2 weapons that you can cycle in your right hand, or 3 weapons you can cycle in your right hand, 3 weapons you can cycle in your left hand, and you're like left on the my friend and I talked about the keybinds that we use because they were so fucking bad. But I mean, this is because it's a controller game that uses right and left on a D-pad to change your left and right hand weapons, right? Kind of like Skyrim. And like, that's okay, but I mean, at least Skyrim played on the keyboard and mouse perfect. Elden Ring did not. And so you'll see me in my Elden Ring session. If you go back to, I did Elden Ring on stream. I beat it on stream. If you go back to it, you will find that I got my mind blown. I'm sorry. I was thinking about herbalism and where I am. I'm sorry. Yeah, I gotta look at the map because I don't know where I truly am. There we go. So one of the things that I struggle with in Elden Ring is while like I was losing duels to my friend who was much younger than me, who was better than me at Elden Ring, even though I had beaten all the Souls games. And I was like, that's cool, but he was using a meta build with meta weapons. I was not. I was using a totally undone spec that no one on the internet had ever done, which is claws. And I could still beat him, but it was like I would beat him 2 out of 7 times or something like that, right? And the one thing we were talking about a lot was how hard it actually is to change weapons in that game. and why it was making it less fun for us to PvP and stuff. And you'll hear me rage out and scream at the fucking developers over the inflated difficulty of the bosses and the bullshit and the animations and the hitboxes and the fucking difficulty of switching weapons while you literally have like a Rivers of Blood doing a specialty on top of your body. You can't switch weapons. It's just like how it is. It just is. And so, you know, without clicking the button 3 times to get to your magic talisman, you've got to hit your button 3 times while you're trying to roll and dodge from somebody at the same time. Changing weapons is not good in that fucking game. It's really not. And so you'll hear me screaming at the top of my lungs about this shit because I feel like that shit shouldn't exist. You know, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't have been hard to switch weapons on a keyboard mouse port of Elden Ring. And honestly, when I was playing the game, I deducted 0.4 off of my score at the end from 10 to a 9.6 because I was like, changing weapons is goddamn horse shit in this game, and I don't know how you let it go live like this, you know. And my friend agreed, who beat the game before even I did, and everybody I've ever met agreed too. And I don't know, and so then you could mistake that for blaming the game for sucking, but I didn't suck at Elden Ring. I cleared the game in 110 hours on stream without help for most of it, and I mean, I didn't suck at Elden Ring. I didn't, and I can go play it again to prove it. And so and now, like, you know, so now I'm like, yeah, you could blame the devs for things that they're actually guilty for. That's okay. It's not the same thing as blaming the game for sucking. That's something that I do when I really mean it. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then when I yell, I'm like, you saw what just happened. I tried to hit him, and the hitboxes were bad, and the sword went through his body. And I call it out on stream, and I say, that's a bad hitbox and stuff. And I won't say something without the evidence being there, or something that I can't go back on the clip and show you later. And so, yeah, like, you know, there's a thing about like blaming the game for being bad, and then there's like the game actually being bad in some ways. Even Elden Ring had a terrible weapon switch system. That Perfect 10, the greatest game of all time, or whatever, or, you know, maybe if it wasn't Super Mario Brothers or Pac-Man or something, would be like Elden Ring, and honestly, it had the worst weapon switching system I can think of on a PC game. And so nobody's perfect. There's no world's best. There's never anything. It's all relative.
Furthermore, he also had a history of putting other people down for not being good at games. Case in point, Tobuscus. Back in mid-2012, he made a video called "Get Competitors' Ads Off My Videos" that supposedly was just him being upset that other channels were being advertised for in his videos. Putting aside the issue that he was still pocketing the money for these ads, in actuality, the video was a lot more malicious than Phil let on. For a significant portion of it, he did nothing but bash Tobuscus gratuitously.
That being said, please understand, disclaimer, this video is not intended to be a direct attack on anyone.
A few moments later.
Your videos suck, you're not funny, and you're not good at gaming. Watch your own videos. You're horrible. When it comes to gaming, he's not funny. He's not funny.
For starters, this was a straight up stupid move, since if you were into one gaming YouTuber back then, the likelihood is you were into a lot of the other ones. So all Phil was doing was angering the hearts of his audience that he shared with Toby. But Phil also specifically and seriously attacked him for not being funny and sucking at games, both of which are DSP's whole brand, whether he knew it or not. Additionally, he suggested that Tobuscus, along with other gaming channels he chose not to name here, have found different ways to abuse the YouTube system to get big. This is coming from the man who purposely split his playthroughs into hundreds of different parts so that his total view count would go up, and asked for people to click on his ads so that he made more money from the video. Anyone with a cursory knowledge of DSP recognized he was throwing giant rocks from a extremely thin glass house. Last but not least, he says other gaming YouTubers don't put as much effort into their gameplays as he does, despite the fact that as of May 2012, he was still refusing to buy a capture card to properly record his playthroughs instead of pointing a camera at his screen. In his mind, his decision to not pay anyone to edit and improve his SEO by making decent thumbnails for him is justified due to how stellar his commentary is. So much so that he describes it as non-stop improv comedy. I'm not going to sit here and act like popular early 2010s gaming content was all comedy gold, but Phil's brand of comedy definitely managed to be even more obnoxious. All in all, it was very clear that Phil was simply seething because there was someone being more professional than he was and making more money than he did because of it.
Okay? And then they hired Toby Turner to be the guy backstage. He's acting like an asshole. He acts like he's a goofball. He's self-deprecating. Complete utter flop.
This entire commotion was particularly rich due to how many times Phil accused other people of disliking him out of jealousy, including the creator of the How You Don't Play series. The wave of hate towards DSP coalesced into a decentralized group called Kojima World Order, whose intro can be seen in many of the detractors' videos of the time.
Oh my
There was also
God.
a downside to Phil being faced with all of these criticisms. It gave him the opportunity to play the victim. Despite his decline in viewership having begun all the way back when YouTube's ad revenue system switched to retention, he swiftly shifted the blame to Evil AJ and everyone who was on his side, if that could be said, as a side to be on. Finally, in early to mid-2013, DSP did the unthinkable and bought a capture card, presumably his way of caving to the negativity. Also known as listening to reasonable advice your own audience has been giving you for years as to what they want to see, or maybe just like what the industry standard is. However, it was a little too late, and the tide had already turned against him for good. Undeterred, Phil went on to cause even greater controversy within his audience when he started the Hardcore Gaming Season giveaway of 2013. When rather than giving away actual games, he instead gave away empty boxes.
This is Deus Ex Human Revolution Collector's Edition. Comes with this very nifty collector's box. On the inside, comes with a few things. First of all, collector's edition packaging. As you open that up, you're gonna see the game's gone because I traded it in years ago.
This got him lambasted and unsubscribed from, even by many of his diehard fans. Besides his fans, he was also being ridiculed by his peers. Other YouTubers and gaming-adjacent celebrities anywhere from 2013 to mid-2014 were finding out who DSP was from the clips of him floating around online. PewDiePie and Minecraft's creator Nosh were roped into the DSP phenomenon. Even fellow Blip.tv adjacent lolcow Spoonie was roped in. Perhaps the most notable instance of another YouTuber chiming in with their 2 cents about DSP's situation was Total Biscuit, but not because it was the most aggressive takedown. As a matter of fact, it was quite the opposite. It was one of the most scathing pieces of criticism DSP ever received, precisely because of how generous and understanding it was as far as trying to see it from Phil's point of view. After being mentioned a few times by DSP, Total Biscuit made a comment saying, "If DSP is name dropping me a lot, I don't know why. It's really weird that he's doing that. He's not my friend or colleague. I've barely spoken to him. I dislike DSP's content and his attitude. I've done some terrible things on the internet that I regret, but nothing close to the stuff he does on a very regular basis. He is a really bad Let's Player, constantly blaming the game for his own mistakes, and I find that really distasteful. If you make your living playing someone else's work, then the least you can do is respect the work that went into it in the first place.
That's
I don't
how
like
I
to
feel
see
too.
someone harassed online daily. I've experienced it myself, and it's put me in some really dark places. But to say DSP brings it on himself is a massive understatement. His persona is the king of hate. He does it on purpose, and there's a lot of baggage that comes with being super negative. That's like his only defining characteristic.
67
He's not
herbalism.
good at the games he plays. He's a controversy machine, and that feeds his channel. Nothing I've seen him do has caused anything positive to happen. Here's the thing. Insulting your fans is often blown out of proportion. DSP is terrible for this, and most of what he says to his viewers is inexcusable, but let's not pretend that viewers are immune to criticism themselves. They often act like assholes, they're entitled, whiny, and provide a lot of subjective criticism with no constructive use. It can drain you emotionally and mentally to be subject to that kind of stuff all the time, and I really feel like part of that is why DSP acts the way he does now. Sometimes viewers do shitty things and should be called out, but let's be frank, DSP has a long history of calling viewers out for no reason. Rather than try to move away from that, he has embraced it. I'd like to see DSP get some help. Therapy. DSP in his current form doesn't help anyone, least of all himself, and incidents like the "I'm giving away boxes" thing make me believe he has some problems that he needs to deal with and get past, because regular people would not consider that a normal, sensible thing to do. I kind of pity him, but there's no smoke without fire, and DSP is a metaphorical arsonist obsessed with burning his house down. Kojima World Order is still hilarious. Phil, upon reading that comment, didn't take kindly to it. The entire comment is incredibly flawed. It's obvious he doesn't watch my content at all, and has only formed an idea of who I am and what I produce from the KWO montages, because watching any playthrough for more than 5 minutes outside of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, you'd know that my content isn't constantly bashing games, game devs, and blaming the game exclusively. Yes, complaining about the games are part of what I do, but not nearly 100% of the content I put out. The fact he thinks that the king of hate means that I've embraced being negative about